Before I begin, I would just like to offer my condolences to Rocky Johnson's family. Rocky Johnson tragically passed away today at the age of 75. He had a hell of a career. He had a hell of a life. He made a name in Memphis, wrestling Terry Funk, Jerry Lawler, Harley Race, among others. In WWE, he would take his hard work and his incredible athleticism and become the first ever African-American tag team champions, along with Tony Atlas in 1983. He wrestled for a number of years until retiring in 91. He would then have a hand in training his son, The Rock, who did well in wrestling and has done even better in Hollywood. Rocky Johnson was enshrined in the WWE Hall of Fame in 2008. His son even inducted him. And it was a great speech. It was a great moment. It was very nice to see him being recognized for his contributions to wrestling. So please leave your favorite moments, matches of Rocky Johnson's career in the comments, and let's keep his memory alive. Rest in peace, Rocky Johnson. So, I'm John Rittland, and this is my review of AEW Dynamite from Miami, the Bash at the Beach, back on TNT. What is 2020? I don't know what 2020 is. JR does briefly mention the passing of Rocky Johnson, as well as AAA's La Parka and a couple others. And I want to mention really quickly, the reason myself and Darby are not reviewing this, he's reviewing NXT. That review will be up sometime, probably right after this one's up. But that's just a plug in case you miss it. Because of snow. We should be reviewing Dynamite, together next week. And really, this is just the best way. Plus, he likes reviewing NXT, and it's the best way to get different perspectives and stuff like that. So, how was this episode of Dynamite compared to others? Well, it was better than last week's, since last week's wasn't all that good. This was, it's weird. It's pendulum booking, because sometimes they'll book a great show, and then they'll book a show that has a couple good moments and a lot of bullshit. With this one, we have Kenny Omega and Adam Hangman Page, thanks Chris, thanks for that, versus Santana and Ortiz versus the Best Friends with, unfortunately, Orange Cassidy. Sorry, I don't really care for Orange Cassidy. Versus the Young Bucks. And whoever wins here gets to challenge SCU for the tag titles on Jericho's Cruise next week. It's flippy shit and cowboy shit, and there's too many damn spots to call. I'm not even going to try to call all the spots here. I will say that this match was a lot of fun. It was very indie. And that's not necessarily a bad thing if you want to appeal to the indie crowd, but it did go a bit long, but they really should have done this elimination style, quite frankly. It might have gotten a little less hectic, because sometimes it was hard to keep track of who the legal men were. At times, I think they just did Lucha Libre rules, but anyway, the crowd was into it. The crowd was very into it, and there were a lot of cool moments in this. There were a lot of dives, a few snapdragons, more dives. I mean, a ton of goddamn dives. We get a lot of multi-person spots. Unfortunately, Orange Cassidy got involved. There's no DQs in a four-way, but it's just. I know that Orange Cassidy has fans. I just don't fucking get it, and I don't want to fucking get it. And I'm not gonna fucking get it. If I'm gonna criticize WWE for a lot of the comedy stuff they do, for a lot of the others, for bad comedy and that kind of stuff, then I'm going to criticize when I don't find stuff funny, and I just don't get it with Orange Cassidy. Other people do. Cool. We get a super kick party, we get a buckshot lariat V-trigger combination, and that pins Chuck Taylor. So Paige and Omega are facing off against SCU, which means you can probably expect Paige to turn on Omega after they lose the tag team championships, or they win the tag team championships and then they lose them to the Lucha Brothers or something like that, and then Paige turns on Omega. Something's happening to cause a turn. That's really what's going down. So, okay, there we go. We get a split screen and DDP's doing yoga. Cool. He was warming up, doing some stuff. 63 years old. I do have to say I wasn't necessarily clamoring for DDP to return to the ring, even though DDP is a great wrestler. But then we come back and we have Cody with a ton of pyro and a Miami Vice look. And he's here to talk about the stipulations that MJF laid out. Will he accept them? Well, he, verbally assaults MJF. He mentions the Rosie O'Donnell clip, when MJF was a kid. He mentions a lot of stuff. I mean, a lot of good lines. I encourage you guys to check out this promo. It's really good stuff. He does eventually end up accepting the stipulations. The cage match with Wardlow is actually going to take place in Atlanta February 19th. Very close to the pay-per-view. Pay-per-view is taking place on leap year in February. But this is good stuff. This was enjoyable. We then get MJF with Wardlow, backstage. Then we get Darby preparing to face Pac in some dark room somewhere. We then get a Joey Janela promo. I don't know what he said. I don't really care what he said. He said something about facing Phoenix. Cool. Okay. Phoenix will have to carry him because Joey Janela really can't wrestle. But you mentioned about Penelope Ford and Kip Sabian and stuff like that, and it's not really a storyline I necessarily care for. There are some people that like it. I mean, if it gets Sabian and Ford over, fine. But I just don't care about Janela. I just don't. We then get easily the worst match of the night. Chris Statlander and Hikaru Shida, who I like. I think they're both good. Versus what was supposed to be Awesome Kong and Mel. Mel's the woman that had her head shaved during the whole Nightmare Collective thing, and it was supposed to be Awesome Kong. Awesome Kong's out with an illness. I hope Awesome Kong gets okay. Whatever the illness is, whether the flu, something, whatever it is. If it's an injury and they're saying illness is just covered up, hopefully she's okay. She has had a lot of years in wrestling and she needs to take care of her body. That's most important. So subbing for her. By the way, there's that weird bald guy, Luther, to look like a bald Gangrel there. The Japanese deathmatch legend, Luther, and I have no fucking idea who he is, and the vast majority of people didn't either. So taking Kong's place is Brandi. I'm going to be as nice as I can here and say that I'm sure that Brandi, wants to serve a purpose in wrestling. I'm sure she means well. She should not be in the ring. I know she had an injury that kept her out of being in the ring for a while, but that match with Allie that she had earlier last year, like July of last year, was horrible. This wasn't any better. This Mel, who is pretty damn tall, she's taller than Chris Statlander. I mean, she's about 6 feet at least. That was impressive. She did pretty well, but she had to carry most of this match because whenever Brandi got in, her offense looks like shit. She can't wrestle. Like, seriously, this is a strict vanity project for her. The Nightmare Collective is a strict vanity project. That's all it fucking is. It's not a good idea because you're having so many dark groups. You got Dark Order. I'll mention them here in a bit. Don't worry. Butcher, Blade, and the Bunny. The Nightmare Collective. Some of it's just enough. And Brandi's not charismatic enough to carry this off. It's just not good. This just wasn't any good at all. Again, Mel carried most of it. And then she got pinned 1, 2, 3. They tease holding a Statlander and Brandi. Having more of a match. And Brandi got, took a hook kick and stuff like that. Keep Brandi out of the ring. Seriously. There are times where people can get better. She just can't. She just can't. And whether I'm not giving her enough of a chance or not, she's not any good. Big Bang Theory pins Mel 1, 2, 3. We then get a Dark Order vignette and this horrible, distorted voice thing of the Exalted One talking about picking people. Who do you think this Exalted One is? It's probably going to end up being Matt Hardy whenever he leaves WWE or something like that. I don't know. I don't know who it is. I really don't care who it is. I don't like the Dark Order. I don't care if they try to do a reset. The gimmick's dead. The gimmick's dumb. They talked about Nakazawa, Omega, Cutler. Recruiting more people. Cool. Whatever. If you guys like the Dark Order, fine. I don't. I think it's stupid. I think it's really fucking stupid. We then get Sammy with flashcards during the break, and then TNT cuts away from it after a bit. My understanding is that on Fight TV, they actually show this stuff, which, okay, I mean, that's great. But TNT is where they get their money, and they've actually gotten a new deal through the rest of 2023, with more money and stuff like that. So that's great. But TNT should be their focus. But it is what it is. Other people got streaming options. I know Fight TV is generally for anybody outside of the U.S., so that makes sense. We get Jon Moxley versus Sammy Guevara. Winner faces the winner of Darby and Pac. And the match was fine. Sammy did get in a lot of offense. There was this weird apron spot. Sammy did do a top rope Spanish fly. And, Sammy did miss a moonsault. And Moxley pulling another move out of his repertoire. Gained a rear naked choke. Chokes him out. Cool. Okay, we have that. And then we get a lights out thing. And then the rest of the inner circle's there. Santana and Ortiz with their cock socks. Have fun on seeing that. And they beat him up. Hager's goddamn useless because he's not at a Trump rally. And Mox gets whipped. He gets stabbed in the eye with the jacket spike. And Shivani and JR are calling it. Much like they called when Dusty had Road Warrior Animal stick the spike in his eye for, in, I believe it was December of 88, just before Starrcade 88, which actually led to Dusty being removed as the booker. Because TNT didn't like that, because they didn't like something getting over. But this was old school stuff. This was fine. This was enjoyable. Mox had a bit of a weird look a little bit later, and I'll get into that. And then we have Jericho's promo. It was cutting out somebody, kept making eye puns. We need more eye puns. I liked stupid puns. That's what I liked. This was fun. I'm not going to say that Jericho should be champion too goddamn long. I think he should lose it at Revolution. I understand why he's champion, since he basically is the most marketable star they have, but they're going to need, maybe outside of Moxley, but they're going to need to shift the title from him at some point. Because he's been champion. By the time Revolution comes up, he will have been champion for almost 6 months. They're going to have to switch it to somebody. I don't know who, maybe Mox or somebody, but they're going to have to switch to somebody soon. Maybe they switch it by the next, by the May pay-per-view, Double or Nothing. Anyway, we get the Butcher, Blade, and MJF with Wardlow and Alley versus QT Marshall, as I found out it was pronounced, Dustin Rhodes and DDP, referee Aubrey. I like that DDP was there and he's in incredible shape and everything, and I love DDP. I had no desire to see him in the ring. I have no desire to see Big Show or other people get back in the ring. Nostalgia pops are one thing. Drawing in fans that say, oh, wait, I used to love DDP. I'll see how he still is in the ring. Okay, but you got to hook people with some better stuff. He didn't do too much. He got in a tag at one point and there was some good heel work by MJF's team. Of course, MJF's involved. Butcher and the Blade don't mean anything because they're always goddamn losing. DDP gets tagged, hits a few moves and everything, barely takes a bump. That's fine. He's 63. Dustin hits a destroyer, Diamond Cutter on MJF. And then everybody dives. Dustin dives. DDP dives. 15, 60-year-old men getting the shine on TNT. It's like Nitro never left. I know that sounds harsh, but again, criticize one company, gotta criticize the other. And MJF gets a roll-up on QT Marshall. 1, 2, 3. And then we get Jen interviewing SCU about the title match next week. And Hangman is drunk and spilling alcohol on people. Good. They've given him the Scott Hall gimmick from 1988, or 1988, 1998, 99, and even 2000. That's good booking. We then get Cody, again, Cody versus Wardlow on the 19th in February, just 10 days before the pay-per-view. And then we're probably going to have Cody getting lashed by MJF to close, the last Dynamite, or on the last Dynamite before Revolution. And then we'll get that match, and Cody... We'll see what happens there, but should Cody beat MJF? Leave in the comments. Pac versus Darby. Winner faces Moxley next week. There was a step spot at one point where Pac just swung him right in there, and JR said at one point, Pac got the grip he wanted. JR's thirst knows no bounds. Pac powerbombs Darby on the steps during the break. Ouch. We get a coffin drop outside. Ouch. I mean, he hit Pac, but still. Darby kept coming back. He tried. He really just kept coming back, but he kept getting beat down. Eventually, Black Arrow pins him 1, 2, 3. So now we get Pac getting an interview with Tony Schiavone, and then he says he's coming for Jericho. Gross. And I guess that's what he means by being the bastard. So there we go. We get that, and then we cut to Moxley, getting low in an ambulance. But then he gets out, and he's still got the kind of pseudo camo pants, and he's got a patch over his eyes. So now he's John Moxsnake. That's what he is. We're getting a very Metal Gear inspired look for him after we already got it with Cody, aren't we? That's probably what we're getting. Mox is like, I don't care if I'm blind, I have one eye, no eyes. I'm going to face you and beat you next week. Moxley should win, but having Pac beat him and then face Jericho and lose isn't the worst thing in the world. And then maybe you give Jericho somebody else for the pay-per-view. I mean, I'm not sure. Let me know what you guys think there. So I'm going to say overall, there was some bullshit. I didn't like the Dark Order thing because I don't like them. They have go-away heat with me. Brandi's group doesn't mean anything, even though Mel was impressive, especially in her first TV match, on AEW. And just Orange Cassidy's involvement. But there was a lot less bullshit on this one than others. So I'm going to say B. Solid show. Quite fun. Did I love it? No, but did I like it? Absolutely. B, poll up there, perhaps, if I forget. If future me forgets, leave your thoughts in the comments. Like, share, subscribe, Twitter handle in the description. I'm John Ritlin. I'll see you soon.